Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be going over my last week of reading, and overall it was actually a really great week of reading for me. I have some pretty exciting things to talk about here, and the first thing that I read and finished this week was this wonderful book here, We Used to Live Here, and this book was awesome. I absolutely loved this book. I gave this book a 5-star rating, my first 5-star ranking in 6 months, or just about 6 months, give or take a couple days. And this book is on the razor thin edge of being a book that I could absolutely hate. And I'm so happy that it ended up being on the side that I loved it. I could see so many people hating this book. I feel like this could be an extremely divisive book. It is a horror thriller, psychological murder mystery. Like, it has so many different elements kind of gelled inside of it. And for me, thankfully, it all worked because, like I said, this could absolutely be a book that for so many people are going to hate it. And I think that already I can kind of see it in the Goodreads rating. Not that Goodreads is the end all be all, but it has like a 3.5 or something rating on there. So it's a lot of people who really, really liked it, and then a lot of people who didn't really like it at all. And I talked a little bit about this book last week, but the basic premise of this is that a couple moves into a new home that they are planning on renovating, and a family shows up and say, hey, this is my childhood home. And they kind of want to go in and tour the house and see how things have changed and everything. And the story gets weird. It changes. It takes twists and turns. You're not sure if it's what's real, what's not real. Is this all like a delusion? Is it horror? Is it actually supernatural? There are just so many elements mixed in here, and it's asking you questions. It's asking you what you to believe, and like, do you trust your brain? And all these great elements that I think are done super, super well for me. But those are all elements that will absolutely not work for a lot of people. And I think it's really interesting. I looked a little bit into like seeing some like discussions and forums of people talking about this book. And it is such a wide gambit of people who absolutely loved it and absolutely hated it that I think it's just fantastic. And sometimes it's really fun to read a book like that where there are really strong opinions on either side of it. And for me, thankfully, this book came out of nowhere for me thinking it would be this good. Obviously, I picked it out. It was a horror book that I wanted to read. I thought it would be good, but not in my wildest dreams that I think this would be like in contention for a top 10 book all time for me. So I absolutely implore you to pick up this book and read it, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of middle ground here. I think you're either going to despise this book or really like it. And either way, this is a book that I want you to read. I'm not going to talk too much more about it because I think I am going to go ahead and probably do a full review for it, really kind of talk about some of those elements a little bit more. But yeah, this book, fantastic, 5 stars. So glad. This is one of the rare books that as soon as I was done with it, I was like, I want to go back and reread this. Like, that's the kind of level that this book got for me. So absolutely a fantastic time with We Used to Live Here. And like I said, completely unexpected. And my original reading plan was to jump into The Blackest Heart by Brian Lee Durfee right after this. And because this book was so good, I wanted something short to kind of like cleanse the palate and not just go from like one crazy amazing book into something that I thought was going to be another crazy amazing book. I wanted to kind of give We Used to Live Here a little bit of time to breathe. So if you has followed my channel for any amount of time, especially last year, you will know that this book was on my TBR, I believe, for 8 months in a row, and I have finally decided to go ahead and start it, and that is Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein. You can see my starship is braving the sea here in my fun little picture. I'm only about 45% of the way into this book, and so far it's not what I expected, and I think some of that has to come from what I know about the movie. And I think the movie is like turned the satire up to like 12, 15, like it's off the charts with the satire and like critique of, I think, the military and like the military industrial complex and some stuff like that, war in general. And I maybe I just need to do a little bit of research on this book to see like what he was trying to accomplish with it, but I'm not getting that same vibe from the adaptation. And like I said, I haven't actually watched the whole movie. It's just like little clips and stuff that I have seen here or there. It's been an interesting time so far. And like I said, I'm only about halfway through, so a lot could still happen. I do want to say that I think some of the technology and stuff that has been implemented here and just the world, the universe that this is taking place in is a pretty interesting little thing. So we'll see how the rest of that progress goes for what I am currently reading there. And like I said, after I finish that, I will jump into The Blackest Heart by Brian Lee Durfee. And I'm also going to pick up this. This is by Susanna Clark. This is, I think it's more of a fairy tale kind of short story kind of thing. The Wood at Midwinter. And so Susanna Clark is an author who I have particularly talked about a few times as somebody who I think has written books that I will absolutely not like. I have said many times again, every time I hear somebody talk about Piranesi, I'm just like, there's no way that is a book I will like. Maybe I would be wrong. Maybe at some point I'll get around to reading it. But I think I even made a whole video about like, these are 10 books that I'd never plan on reading. And Susanna Clark, I think, was on there twice for both Doctor Strange and Mr. Norrell and Piranesi. But I did see Evie talking about this over at She's Only Evie. I think that's who that was. And this is such a short, like, I mean, some of the pages like have like 3 words on them and stuff. And so I wanted to be able to say that I read Susanna Clark without like committing to reading one of her novels that I just legitimately don't think I'm going to like. And so the fact that this is more of like a fairy tale-esque kind of short wintry story, I thought it would be a good little thing to fit in here right after I finish Starship Troopers, maybe kind of while I'm still reading it actually. And I will go ahead and read that while I get into The Blackest Heart as well. So that is all of my novel reading I did this week, and now let's go ahead and talk about my manga just a little bit. And this was a little bit of an interesting week for me. I went on a little mini vacation with some friends and my girlfriend, and we went to a Chinese Lantern Festival and a hockey game up in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll put some pictures in there. The Chinese Lantern Festival was awesome, but the reason I'm talking about the Chinese Lantern Festival is because I didn't really read much manga. I read the 2 new chapters of Black Clover that came out, and yeah, I have said this multiple times with Black Clover. It is one of those shonens that kind of got popular around the same time Demon Slayer did. I don't think it was like, the quality of it is fine. I think it started out with a much more an interesting premise, and it really turned into something different as the story went on. It took much more of a fairy tale-esque route where like it really turned into like a found family, loving your friends and the power of friendship kind of stuff, where I originally thought it was maybe going to be a little bit darker, and it just kind of turned into something that I wasn't expecting. So throughout my entire time reading it, I have thought it's fine. It's never like blown me away, and I'm kind of, I've said it multiple times, I'm ready for it to be over. It is getting close to being over. We're kind of in that home stretch of Black Clover. But this week, as we go forward for my manga reading, I do plan on reading at least a little bit of Dragon Ball Super, and also trying to start Frenin Beyond Journey's End. Is that what it's called, the full title? I don't remember off the top of my head, but I need to get that one from my library. So I'm hoping that maybe I can get that digitally from my library and go forward on those 2. And then I'll just kind of, when I feel like it, pick up little bits and pieces of some of the other stories I'm in, like Kaiju number 8 and One Piece. We'll see if I say I'm going to read One Piece, but we'll see if I actually pick it back up and get to it. I've got plenty of other stories that are kind of calling my name, and I do really think I want to focus on Super and Frenin much more than anything else right now. Super, because I believe that manga has been done for quite a while. I'm kind of rereading not rereading, I'm reading all the way through Dragon Ball Z, and now I got to do Super. I watched those animes growing up, so I kind of, want to go through that progression now as an adult and go through it, and I really enjoyed my time with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, so we'll see there. And then One Piece is just one of those wild cards. I know so many people here love it, and there's so many people reading and talking about it that I don't really feel like a huge drive to like put my 2 cents into it, because I'll be honest, my 2 cents is not nearly as positive as a lot of other people's, and I just really don't want to deal with that kind of negativity. But that is all of the manga I read this week, and because of that same vacation, I didn't really watch all that much, except I did watch my Pittsburgh Steelers once again for the 6th year in a row, I believe. I think it's been since technically 2017, the 2016 season though, the last time we won a playoff game. So it's like 6 or 7 straight playoff losses in the wild card, where this team comes out and just looks absolutely abysmal. They've been outscored in the first quarter of their last 6 playoff games, something like 70-0 or something. The team just never comes out and looks prepared. It's kind of this team, since Ben Roethlisberger's elbow injury has kind of been in this spot of not being bad enough to go get top tier talent, but not being good enough to beat real contenders. So it's been this really weird, interesting mix. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be a coaching change. I'm still not sure I can get on the full fire Mike Tomlin train, but he is the constant that has been there, and things have not changed. I definitely think our defensive coordinator should go. I've never been a fan of Terrell Austin. He has been just, to me, somebody who has had some of the best players in the league masking his inability to put them in the best positions possible. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting offseason for Steelers. There's no quarterbacks out there that are going to rescue us, I don't think. So I have a feeling that next year is going to be a mixture of probably Justin Fields again with maybe Russ, but I don't see how you can pay either of those guys top tier quarterback money. So we're kind of in quarterback purgatory yet again. So we will see what happens there. But that is pretty much all I watch. And then let's finish out with some things that were on the channel, things that I did for the channel, and some stuff that is coming up in the coming week. So on this week, the video that I had come out was my 2025 goals video. And I think that was an interesting goals video because I don't have too many big concrete goals, especially when it comes to reading. I have some for like real life outside of reading and everything. But this year was really about giving myself flexibility when it comes to reading and making videos and stuff. So if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and check it out. And then just yesterday, I was in a really fun discussion about Wind and Truth over on Nerd Level, on Jake's Nerd Level Rising's channel. There was a bunch of great people there, and it was a lot of fun. It was like a 2-hour-long discussion, full spoilers, and it was nice because there was like a wide variety of opinions. So there was some stuff that everybody kind of agreed on. There was some stuff that we definitely disagreed on, and I don't know. To me, that makes the discussion fun, where there's a wide variety of what people thought and felt about a book. I don't think it's always the most fun thing to sit and talk about how much we like something, though that can be fun. But I do think it's nice to have, like, Vera was disagreeing with Alex, and just all kinds of stuff. And I think Brian is probably the most negative out of any of us who were there. But like, everybody has great points at all those. So those discussions were great. I'll have that all linked down in the description if you want to go check it out, which I highly suggest that you should, because like I said, full Wind and Truth spoilers, which is actually going to bring me up for coming up on the channel. This week I am planning on releasing my Wind and Truth review. I know I'm a little bit behind everybody else, but I finished that the day I finished it. I think it was the 29th of December, and I just haven't gotten around to editing it. And I'm very curious for myself, now that it's been a couple weeks, going back and listening to what I said, how much has my opinions changed since that original video, because I wanted those raw emotions of right after I finished the book. I think I finished it I filmed that video like the next day. And so those emotions were fresh, and like I hadn't seen anything else that anybody had said. That's something I made to be like super sure about when I was reading this book, is I didn't want anybody else's opinion influencing me. And I think I'm glad that I did, because I think in the end, a lot more people are much more negative on it than me. And I end up comparing it, if I remember correctly, a lot to The Wheel of Time. And so I'll be curious on what you guys think in that video. It is mostly a spoiler video. There's a non-spoiler section in it, but it is mostly for people who have finished the book. And I'm very interested to see what people agree with, what people disagree with, and all of that stuff. But that has been my week. I hope you had a good week. Definitely let me know anything that you read, watched, any of the fun stuff that you did down below in the comments. But that's all for me. And remember, read what you want, when you want.